3 a.m. Discover the shocking truth behind Ragnar Lothbrok's darkest secrets. You won't sleep again. The clock struck 3, a haunting time where shadows turn sinister. In the depths of night, whispers filled the air like a chilling breeze, stirring something inside every creeping corner of the rafters. This wasn't just another midnight tale, this was the unsettling moment that promised to unearth the dark heart of a legendary Viking king. Ragnar Lothbrok, a name that rang through history like thunder, wielded more than swords. He commanded secrets, grim and twisted, that no one dared to unearth until now. The first tale spoke of a cursed artifact, said to have once resided in Ragnar's stronghold. The whispers claimed it was forged in the fires of a different world, a relic that could summon the dead. Imagine it, a weathered, iron talisman, etched with runes that seemed to shift in the flickering light. Some would shudder at the thought of coveting such an object, while others felt an irresistible pull, the kind that makes your breath hitch and your heart race. But even that didn't prepare anyone for what happened next. Stories erupted about villagers hearing guttural chants echoing from the forest. Eyes wide and heart racing, people spoke of glimmering figures roaming under the pale moonlight, figures that mimicked Ragnar himself. Were they specters? Or our deepest fears manifested? The air crackled with a heavy tension, making the skin pull tight and the heart pound harder. Suddenly, a ragged scream filled the night, causing blood to freeze and breaths to quicken. It was said a lone figure draped in a tattered cloak, and eyes like bottomless pits was seen walking the shores, chanting Ragnar's name. Those who dared venture close swore they felt something cold, whispering their names in the wind. The sense of dread pooled in the pit of their stomachs, tightening like a noose, choking off clarity. What was he summoning? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. And just when the villagers thought it couldn't get worse, strange markings appeared on trees, forming ominous symbols, the kind that made spines tingle and fear claw at the heart. People began to vanish without a trace, their laughter replaced by silence thicker than the night itself. Each morning brought new fear, parents gripping their children tighter, eyes darting nervously, hoping not to become the next story that fueled the fire. Could these chilling occurrences truly be tied to Ragnar Lothbrok? The power of rumor twisted the air until it felt electric, heavy with mystery. Why were they happening now? What had reawakened the dead king's restless spirit? As the fog began to thicken, a dreadful truth loomed in the shadows. Something was reaching out from the past, clawing to break free. And as the fire flickered low, casting eerie shadows on the walls, one question lingered: what awaited those brave enough to seek Ragnar's darkest secrets? What kind of horror would uncoil itself in the moonlight? The air was heavy with fear as dawn crept in, casting an uneasy light over the village. People stirred from restless sleep, eyes bloodshot and wild, still haunted by the echoes of the night. Children clung to their mothers, who whispered reassurances no one believed. Every creak of the floorboards felt like a prelude to doom. Elena, a brave villager with fiery spirit, gathered a small group of the curious and the brave. They were determined to uncover the truth behind the happenings. "We can't let fear win," she urged, her voice steady despite the tremor beneath it. With each nod from her comrades, the weight of dread that hung over them pressed harder. But they wouldn't turn back. As the group approached the edge of the forest, a fog rolled in, thick and oppressive. It felt alive, like fingers curling around their throats, squeezing the breath from their lungs. Hearts raced as they plunged deeper into the shadows, the tall trees looming like watchers with dark secrets of their own. Suddenly, a snap echoed in the silence, causing everyone to freeze. "Did you hear that?" whispered Anton, glancing nervously at the underbrush. The others held their breath, eyes scanning every movement. They were mere mortals trapped in a grim fairy tale, and lurking in the shadows were twisted reflections of their nightmares. Then, out of the mist, a figure emerged, a gaunt silhouette draped in decaying rags. With its back turned, it seemed to hum a tune that sent shivers down their spines. The sound was haunting, a melody twisted and sharp like a dagger hidden in soft silk. It turned, and they saw the hollow eyes, void of life, staring through them, soothing yet terrifying. They knew it was the embodiment of their worst fears, the specter of Ragnar himself. "Run!" Elena screamed, but her legs felt like stone. The group reacted instinctively, hearts pounding as they tore through the trees, feeling branches rake against their skin. The specter followed, its song rising and falling, a siren's call that tugged at their souls. Behind them, they heard whispers. Figures emerged from the shadows. They wore pained expressions, faces twisted in agony, mimicking their every move. Each step away from the specter pulled them deeper into the darkness, but the wraiths multiplied, each offering a glimpse of a life lost. The sickening truth clawed at their minds: this wasn't merely a haunting. It was a reckoning. "Elena!" shouted Anton. "We must go to the stone circle. It's our only chance." His voice broke the spell momentarily, and a flash of hope flickered within her. They navigated through thorny thickets, fear propelling them forward. The ancient stone circle appeared through the gloom, a circle of towering monoliths that seemed to thrum with power. It was here, they believed, they could confront whatever darkness awaited them. As they stepped into the circle, the whispers crescendoed into chaotic screams. The air crackled with electricity and dread. The veil between the living and the dead thinned, and within seconds, they knew something was watching, something ancient. Before any could muster words, the ground trembled. Shadows convulsed around them. It was a gathering storm. The truth wanted to be known, and as the air chilled, the sounds of Ragnar's name flooded the senses. What heritage had they conjured? What might they unleash upon themselves? Somewhere in the swirling chaos, an answer awaited. Would they dare to listen? But perhaps the real question beneath the noise was, could they survive the truth they sought? The air thickened, charged with an unseen energy that vibrated through their bones. Shadows danced like restless spirits as the stone circle pulsed, aching with ancestral memories. Each heartbeat sounded louder, each breath felt sharper in the chill that surrounded them. Elena's eyes darted across her companions, searching for signs of strength in their faces. Their eyes reflected fear, a stark contrast to the boldness they had shown just moments earlier. Would they stand together to face the chaos? Or would the fear consume them one by one? "Listen!" she shouted above the clamor. "We need to focus. Embrace what's happening." The realization struck her: confronting their fears might be the only way to turn them back. However, doubt gnawed at her resolve. Would they hear her? Would they hold firm? The spectral figures loomed closer, closing in on them with expressions of agony and fury. Their whispers formed words, curses that echoed like 1,000 memories clawing at the walls of sanity. The sound swirled, creating a cyclone of confusion around the circle, where the line between the living and the dead wasn't just blurred, it shattered. Ragnar the Wraith spoke, their voices coiling like smoke. "You awakened us, you have awakened him." A bone-chilling laugh cut through the chaos, reverberating with sinister intent. It was otherworldly, yet vaguely familiar. Elena reeled, trying to pin down the source. The ground shook again, louder this time. The stones began to vibrate, sending pebbles skittering away as if the earth itself was in rebellion. From within the heart of the circle, a dark mist rose, swirling into a shape, the unmistakable form of Ragnar. Grinning wickedly, the spectre's hollow eyes glowed with a piercing light. "You wish to know your fears?" it rasped, voice oozing malice. "Then let me show you." Suddenly, visions erupted like fireworks in the minds of the villagers. Ground Zero, the village, ablaze. Friends and family writhing in despair, their faces twisted in terror. Each flicker displayed the choices they made, the losses they couldn't prevent, and the betrayals that birthed their darkest truths. "No!" shouted Anton, clutching his head as if he could block out the horrors. "It's not real. It's all in our heads." But reality bled into their thoughts. Elena felt the anguish settle like a heavy cloak over her shoulders. "No! We have to fight." She reached for the stones, their surface warm against her palm, pulsing in rhythm with the chaos. More than symbols, they were anchors to a past never truly forgotten. With trembling hands, she positioned herself center-stage within the circle, heart racing. "We will not be broken," she declared, voice filled with as much power as she could muster. "This is our home. Our story isn't over." As if responding to her defiance, the spectral figures quivered, momentarily halting their advance. The laughter of Ragnar devolved into a series of howls, each cry a note of fury blending with agony. "You believe you can withstand me," he spat, plunging into a laugh that shook the world. "Then let me show you your greatest fear is yet to come." The shadows around them began to twist and contort, forming an endless void. In that darkness, a silhouette appeared, a figure cloaked in despair, its distorted face peering into Elena's soul. It twisted into something she recognized too well, herself, burdened by self-doubt and regret, standing in the ruins of everything she loved. The truth engulfed her. She had to face it. "No!" she screamed, clutching the stones tighter, trying to drown out the terror within. "I will not surrender." But the shadows only deepened, clutching at her heart, rising like an ink-black tide. As the darkness threatened to swallow her whole, Elena realized there was no escaping the truth she feared. And then, like a heavy curtain tearing away, everything went dark. What waited for her on the other side? A single question echoed in the void, pregnant with desperation: could there be salvation in confronting her own darkest truths? In that silence, a flicker of hope beckoned. But terrified of what lay beyond, she wondered, would they emerge together, or would the darkness claim them all? Elena was no longer alone in the darkness. A chorus of whispers pulsated with despair around her, rising like a haunting melody that filled the void. Her heart raced, each beat a desperate plea for survival. "Elena, don't lose yourself." Anton's voice broke through, urgent and frantic. The steadily building dread threatened to unmoor her. She could feel it tugging at her thoughts and senses. But she couldn't let the darkness engulf her friends. The faces of her companions flickered in the dim light, haunted by fears of their own. She could feel their panic spiking, spiraling into chaos. "Focus on the circle," she shouted, though her words felt swallowed by the void. The stones beneath her hands warmed, as if urging her onward. She could sense their history, their weight, their stories entangled with theirs. Ragnar's laughter echoed like thunder, ricocheting off the walls of her mind. "You think you can grasp fear with so little strength?" he sneered. "Let it in. Embrace what you dread most." With a will fueled by desperation, she ripped her gaze away from the shadows closing in, focusing on Anton. "Hold on to the light," she cried, feeling the tremors of their connection. "We can't let him win." The stones responded to her call. A pulse of energy surged upward, illuminating the circle. Shadows skittered back, recoiling from the glow like vampires from sunlight. Glimmers of hope flickered within their hearts, reflecting off the stones as she urged her friends to rally. Together they formed a fragile shield against the oncoming storm. "I can't," Mia gasped, her voice cracking like dry leaves. She trembled, terror weaving through her. "What if we can't chase it away? What if it consumes us?" "In the face of fear, we stand united," Elena shouted, digging deeper into the wellspring of courage she had ignited. "Each of you carries the strength of your ancestors. Remember where you came from." As if summoned by her words, memories filled the air, a rush of laughter, the spark of joy, the warmth of love. Each recollection flickered like a flame, illuminating the darkness with the echoes of their shared pasts. The wraiths wavered, torn between worlds, their anger faltering. For a moment, the sight of familiar faces brought a tightly held breath of hope, but Ragnar wasn't done. His voice dripped with malice. You cannot drown your fears. They are etched in your veins. Thus shall you sink into the abyss. Without warning, the shadows surged forward again, and the ground beneath their feet trembled violently. The stones emitted a brilliant light, struggling against the relentless tide. Elena felt a sense of urgency, a clawing sensation that time was running out. Together, she yelled, locking eyes with her companions. They needed to merge their strength, their hearts. She couldn't fight for them, they had to fight for themselves. Breathe, she whispered, her voice steadying them. Breathe and fight. They joined hands, a makeshift chain against Ragnar's fury. Elena felt the warmth of their fingers. Hope and fear mingled in a powerful current. If they stood firm, this darkness would shatter. The darkness snarled in retaliation. The shadows slithered, seeking to invade their minds, to drown them in despair. But Elena pressed on, filling her voice with unwavering determination. This is our truth. We face it. In that moment of unified resolve, the shadows screamed, enraged. The light from the stones flared brighter, illuminating the truth they never dared confront. But just as the darkness began to fragment, Ragnar's laughter pierced through, echoing as betrayal. Foolish mortals, he jeered. You think this is freedom? What if I told you there's no escape from the truth lurking in your hearts? Before Elena could respond, a figure surged from the shadows, an apparition of her past. The vision of her younger self appeared, eyes filled with doubt and loneliness. The likeness felt like a dagger to her heart, chilling her blood. No! She cried out, but this spectral version pushed forward, inching closer to the stone circle. This is what you wanted to avoid, isn't it? Your very essence crumbling before you. Panic clawed at her throat. Could she confront this? Was there even a choice? As her vision blurred in the encroaching darkness, she felt the weight of judgment bearing down. Would her truth be her salvation or her undoing? As the shadows threatened to claim her, the brilliant light dimmed, teasing the edge of oblivion. The question lingered in the air, heavy and imminent. Would she step fully into this terrifying confrontation, or would she be swallowed whole by the dark memories of her past? All actions hung suspended, waiting for that fragile, inevitable decision. The tension reached a breaking point as silence descended once more, leaving only the shattering of her thoughts against the chilling darkness. What awaited in the depths of her darkest truth? Elena's heart thundered against her ribcage, each pulse a frantic reminder that the shadows were closing in, pressing harder against the fragile light of their circle. Her younger self stood there, a haunting specter that whispered truths masked in shame and regret. Face it, Elena, the apparition urged, its voice a haunting echo of her own. You ran from this moment, but here it is. You can't escape what you truly are. With a stone's weight in her chest, Elena struggled against the magnetic pull of that past. The circle radiated warmth, a sanctuary against the chaos, but the chill of her own doubt seeped through, icy tendrils curling around her resolve. She had spent years avoiding the doubt that plagued her, a shadow cast upon her by the very expectations she once clung to. Shut up! She gasped, eyes darting to Anton and Mia. We're stronger together. We have to believe. If only she could leverage that belief to drive away this spectral tormentor, to drown out the whispers that echoed her deepest fears. Ragnar's voice sliced through the tension again, heavy with mockery. Look at her, so weak, so pathetic. Do you think they'll follow someone who can't even accept her past? They see you. Elena squeezed Anton's hand, grounding herself in reality. We're facing it together. She looked to each of her friends, their expressions a mix of fear and determination, waiting for her to take the next step. The spectral figure advanced, and every step felt like 1,000 memories wrenched open. You think this circle can keep me at bay? I am you. I am all your doubts, all the times you felt unworthy. No! She shouted, a primal roar against the encroaching darkness. You may have been part of me, but you don't control me. The stones pulsed under her hands, responding to her anger, her defiance. The glow strengthened, pushing back against the shadows. We commit to this fight. Whatever it takes. But the phantom smiled, a chilling grin that froze the very air. Then face the truth of your regret. What if you're not enough? What if you're destined for failure? You're the weak link. As this reality set a dark weight upon her, she felt Anton's grip tighten, his voice cutting through the haze. Elena, remember why we're here. It's not just you. It's all of us. The light flickered at his encouragement, the stones gleaming with renewed urgency. Images of laughter and love rushed forth, reminding her of the strength they collectively held. Each failure made you who you are. Mia shouted, her voice piercing through the darkness. It's time to honor that. We're here with you. Suddenly, the spectral figure jerking back seemed to ripple, its form losing solidity as their fierce united force began to penetrate the facade. No! It shrieked, a wail echoing through the void as the light flickered. You cannot deny your essence. Ragnar's laughter clashed with their newfound strength, a jarring cacophony. They're fools to think they can win this, Elena. Who are you, really? The shadows frothed with rage, swirling angrily as if anticipating a storm. Abruptly, the circle shuddered, jolting Elena from her thoughts. The warmth of the stones was fading, the shadows biting closer. We don't have much time. But there was an unsettling truth lurking just beneath the surface, one she hadn't dared to acknowledge. What if Ragnar was right? What if all these insecurities were part of her buried deep and waiting to emerge? The tumult of emotions felt suffocating. The shadows pressed in, their whispers turning into a sinister chant. Face who you are. Embrace it. And there it lay, her darkest truth waiting to be unveiled. What if she really wasn't enough? What if, amidst her strength, she was still bound to the same fears that plagued her past? Elena felt the weight of expectation crash down. Desperation clawed at her throat as the shadows swirled, threatening to engulf them all. Would they face the truth together, or would the darkness drive them apart? The light flickered violently, teetering on the edge of extinction just as a spark ignited within her. Was this the moment? She'd face it all? But before she could act, a scream rose, drowning the dark whispers momentarily. In that frenzied moment, a revelation seized her mind. What if the shadows weren't just a reflection of her fears, but also of secrets that could unravel everything they fought for? The darkness surged once more, clamoring for her attention, ready to pull her under. Would she confront the essence of her pain, or let it drown her completely? As the shadows clawed for dominance, Elena's heart raced with an unspoken question: what truth lay just beyond the veil of darkness that threatened to consume them all? Elena gasped as the light flickered again, struggling to hold on to the last threads of hope. The shadows seemed to writhe with a life of their own, clawing at her sanity. Each whisper grew louder, relentless in their assault. Ragnar's laughter echoed, cruel and piercing. You think you're strong? You've been running all this time. What happens when the real you stands in front of them? The very air around her thickened with despair, wrapping around her like a dark shroud. Anton and Mia's faces loomed in her line of sight, filled with worry but shining with a fierce determination. As if sensing her turmoil, Anton stepped forward, his voice steady. Elena, remember. We've all faced our own shadows. You're not alone in this. Right. Mia echoed, urgency laced in her tone. These shadows want to divide us. They want to make you believe you're not worthy, but that's the lie. We're stronger together. Let us in. The plea triggered something inside her. Elena's heart thundered louder. In that chaos, she felt an electric spark. What if the shadows were only reflecting the fears she hadn't dared to confront? What secrets lay buried deep, hidden from her view? She took a deep, shuddering breath and stood a little taller. Then let us face it together, she said, voice steadying. Let us expose these lies for what they truly are. The spectral figure lurched forward, eyes of cold fury locked onto her. You think you can battle with the truth? It hissed. What if the truth sets you free only to shatter everything you thought you knew? The words floated in the air, thick with implications. Fear gripped her gut, but with it came clarity. I won't let the past define me, she shouted, the words surging from the depths of her being. I'm here, I'm real, and I am ready to embrace every part of myself, even the ugly bits. The shadows hissed, swirling off into a chaotic frenzy, their grasp loosening as the stones beneath her hands pulsed with warmth. The circle flickered with life as Elena felt the strength of her friends beside her. They joined in, hands raised, voices united in defiance against the darkness. With each chant, brighter grew the light, spilling warmth into the freezing void, pushing back against the creeping dread. We face this together. We are not alone. But Ragnar's laughter darkened into rage, a storm brewing in his eyes. Fools! He sneered. You don't understand. Secrets don't stay buried. They will rise and they will consume you. Suddenly, a sharp crack exploded within the circle, sending a shockwave reverberating through the air. The ground trembled as fissures split the earth, revealing a chasm that yawned ominously below them. Elena's heart raced. What now? The panic was palpable, a pulse in the very essence of the group. What does it want? Stay united. Anton bellowed, casting frantic glances towards the widening crack. We fight this, no matter what. The spectral figure lurched back from the light, fear flickering across its face. But that fear turned to malice as it reached for the chasm, as if drawing power from the unfathomable depths. Elena felt a shudder coursing through her as memories began to bubble up, images of her past dancing in the shadows. A betrayal. A lost love. The lies that had woven into the fabric of her existence. Was this what Ragnar meant? Was everything about to be revealed? No. She cried, fighting against the tidal wave of memories, struggling to keep her footing. You want to tear us apart. But just as she regained her composure, the scream returned, louder than before, a soul-wrenching cry that echoed from the chasm. Elena! It screamed. You must remember. Her breath caught, mind racing. Memories were stirring like a storm inside her. Remember what? She gasped, frantically scanning the faces of her friends, desperation clawing at her heart. And at that moment, she caught a glimpse of something glistening in the depths of the chasm. Something familiar. Something crucial. What will we find if we look deeper? She thought, the shadows hold slipping as clarity dawned, illuminating the answer to the question that could change everything. Would she brave the darkness? Would she uncover the truths that lay beyond? Or would the secrets of the chasm shatter everything she held dear? Elena took a hesitant step toward the chasm, the air around her charged with an electric tension. She could feel the pull, a magnetic force that both terrified and compelled her. The echoes of her name still lingered, entwined with the desperate cries that were begging her to remember. Elena, it cried again, the voice raw and pleading, as if it were ripping itself from the depths of despair. Mia gripped Elena's arm, her eyes wide with fear. Don't go too close. It's a trap. But Elena's gaze was locked on the glimmering object hidden within the shadows. It pulsed with a light that seemed to call her name in a heartbeat rhythm. She shook her head, clearing the fog of confusion. I have to see what it is. Before she could even register her thoughts, she began to walk towards the edge, her heart pounding like a drum. The fissures yawned wider, a dark mouth of endless possibilities. Anton tightened his grip on her hand. We'll go together, he said. No. Ragnar's voice boomed, shaking the ground. You're sealing your fates if you venture further into the dark. It's a labyrinth of lies. The shadows screeched in response, swirling violently around, desperate to reclaim their power. Elena felt the cold breeze slice through her, spiking her fear to an unbearable peak. What if he's right? She thought, swallowed by doubt. Yet, something deep within pushed her forward. The truth was waiting, and she was sick of running. Pushing past the dread, she took another step, only to feel the ground beneath her tremble violently, a response to her decision, as if the earth itself was warning her. Elena! A voice echoed, more urgently this time. Her breath caught as the light twinkled closer, revealing a small, shimmering object. It was a pendant, one she recognized. It belonged to her, a gift from her grandmother, lost long ago. The memories of her laughter, their shared moments, flooded her like an ocean wave. How is it here? What does it mean? You need to confront your past. Anton shouted, grounding her in the moment. It's not just about Ragnar's lies. This is about your truth. She could feel the weight of that statement wrapping around her, pulling her deeper into uncertainty. She could feel the presence of the spectral figure lurking just beyond the light, waiting for her misstep. With a final hesitant glance back at her friends, who stood ready to support her, she lunged forward, plunging her hand into the chasm. The moment her fingers brushed against the pendant, a surge of energy shot through her. Visions exploded in her mind, each one more vivid than the last. The betrayal. The heartbreak. Choices she made in darkness, lies told in shadows. Each memory ignited a spark of pain, truth after truth exploding like fireworks, clarity dawning in the chaos. Yes, she cried out, the memories spiraling like a whirlwind. I remember. But in that instant of overwhelming recognition, the chasm roared, the shadows convulsing in fury. They surged toward her, shrieking with rage. You think you can know us? You think you can face what lies beneath? The world tilted, the light flickered violently. Darkness clawed at the edges of her consciousness, trying desperately to pull her back into the depths. Elena's heart raced, the weight of the past threatened to suffocate her. Stay strong. She urged herself, her voice barely a whisper against the tempest of shadows. As she held the pendant tightly, she realized the key to her freedom was right there within those memories, within the pain she needed to face, but just as she began to piece together her truth, a loud crack erupted above. The very ground began to shift again, the fissures expanding wider. Elena! Mia shouted, her voice full of terror. Get back! In that moment, the breath left Elena's chest as she contemplated the horrific possibility. Instead of freedom from her shadows, she might uncover a deeper darkness that would shatter her sense of self once and for all. Would she risk it all, or would the shadows consume her before she could comprehend the truth? The ground shook violently, and she felt a sudden sensation of weightlessness as her world tilted beyond recognition. Embrace it. A whisper urged from the depths. Embrace the truth. And just like that, she teetered on the edge, caught between the abyss and the bright flicker of hope. What would happen if she fell? Would the shadows finally win, or could the truths found within the chasm ultimately set her free? As the shadows writhed and clawed at her, Elena felt a rush of adrenaline. The darkness seemed to pulse with life, eager to snuff out her flickering hope. I can't go back, she whispered, her voice trembling as she clutched the pendant, its weight both comforting and heavy with memories that rattled in her mind like loose stones. The chasm roared, and she closed her eyes. Images flashed before her, her grandmother's warm smile, the stories of battles won and lost, secrets tucked away like fragile relics. But then came another image, one that chilled her to the core, the night everything changed, the night she vowed to forget. The betrayal. The loss. The very thing she'd buried deep. Don't let it take you. Anton's fierce whisper cut through the chaos. She could feel his grip on her tightening, grounding her as a sudden gust swept through the fissures, rustling her hair like an ancient warning. Elena! Mia shouted, her voice just above the howling winds of the chasm, "We need to pull you back. We can't lose you." But Elena stood firm. "No. I need to confront this, right here, right now," she shouted back, her heart pounding louder than the roar around her. The light from the pendant brightened, illuminating the darkness like a beacon. She was drawn toward it, an unquenchable thirst for understanding. What was hidden within her past threatened her very essence, but the truth was worth the risk. Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, an army of darkness eager to reclaim their power. A splintering crack echoed through the air, sending fissures racing toward her friends, threatening to engulf them. "Elena!" Anton shouted again, his voice filled with desperation. The ground jerked beneath her feet, tipping the balance as if the very earth was in cahoots with the shadows. "No!" she cried, struggling to remain steady. She felt the pendant growing warmer in her grip, as if it were alive and guiding her. "I can handle this." "Can you?" The dark whisper of the chasm queried, a quiet taunt that sent shivers racing down her spine. "What if you find things that are better left forgotten?" She hesitated, just for a moment. Memories rattled inside her like caged animals ready to burst free. The truth was daunting. Would facing it mean losing everything? The shadows seemed to sense her wavering, lunging closer, the air growing thick with malevolence. "Fight it!" Mia pleaded, her voice trembling, but small compared to the roar of rage from the chasm. "I'm not afraid," Elena declared, the words bursting from her lips with an unexpected ferocity. The shadows twisted, forming shapes faces of those she lost, taunting her with silence, echoing their secrets like eerie laughter. "No!" Elena yelled, feeling the strength of her defiance sweep through her. She felt it in every fiber of her being, the sting of betrayal, the warmth of love, the suffocating grip of grief, and yet, at the center, a flicker of hope. As she let herself succumb to the memories, the energy clashed within her, intertwining pain and resilience, joy and sorrow. In that moment, a pulse of light erupted from the pendant, cutting through the darkness as if revealing the very heart of the chasm itself, but then, without warning, the ground trembled violently again, shattering any remaining sense of stability. The fissures widened, threatening to swallow her whole. "Elena!" Anton shouted, panic in his voice. The shadows screamed with rage, angry voices melding into one. "You cannot change the past. You cannot escape us." And as the pull of gravity failed her, Elena felt herself tipping backward toward the abyss, toward the darkness that wanted to consume her. Could she confront the darkest secrets lodged in her spirit, or would she be lost to the clutches of the shadows forever? Just as she spun into the void, the lights flickered one last time, illuminating a figure in the dark, one she recognized all too well. And then she fell what lay below, waiting to be uncovered. Would the truth set her free, or would it shatter her completely? As Elena plummeted into the abyss, time seemed to stretch into infinity. The rush of air whipped around her, ghostly whispers trailing like fingers in the wind. She could feel the shadows reaching for her, wrapping around her like a cold embrace. It was as if the darkness was alive, its tendrils seeking to envelop her, to drag her deeper into its morass of despair, but just then, the pendant in her hand blazed with a fierce light, illuminating the void around her. Each heartbeat pulsed with power, and Elena felt not just fear, but an unfamiliar sense of determination swell inside her. No matter how far she fell, she wouldn't let go of the light. With a sharp burst of clarity, she saw that the darkness was not just a threat, but a gate, a passage into her own forgotten history. Images began to swirl before her like a vivid tapestry unraveling. Her childhood home, laughter echoing in sunlit rooms, the warm smell of cookies baking. And then, abruptly, the scene shifted to the night of betrayal, the shattering moment when trust was replaced by deceit. "Elena!" A voice called. It was her grandmother's, echoing through the labyrinth of her memories, filled with a strength that anchored her even in freefall. "Face it, my love. You must remember." Pain shot through her as the memories twisted, revealing faces she had tried to forget. The shadow of her mother, haunting her with sorrowful eyes. The silhouette of her father, retreating into anger. Each figure lingered, reminding her that they were all a part of her story. Their betrayal had woven itself into her very being, the truth was buried beneath layers of hurt, ready to explode into her consciousness. As she fell, she clenched the pendant, her anchor in this tempest. "I won't be afraid," she screamed into the dark void, a fierce defiance rising in her chest. The shadows recoiled for a moment, as if momentarily startled by the strength of her declaration. The vibrant light from the pendant surged outward, illuminating the darkness around her, revealing glimpses of what lay ahead. But it also laid bare her fears, the shadows morphing into horrific visions, each betrayal, each loss, coming to life like a monstrous play unfolding just for her. "Are you ready to face it?" the abyss whispered, a chilling hiss that crawled under her skin. "What if the truth isn't what you want it to be?" "You're wrong," Elena shouted back, each word laced with the urgency of her conviction. "I was a victim, but I refuse to be a prisoner of my past." Just then, a blinding flash erupted from the pendant, wrapping her in a cocoon of light. Vivid images unfurled before her eyes, her grandmother, bathed in warm light, standing tall against swathes of darkness, the strength of family resonating through the ages. Then, with an abrupt jolt, Elena landed on solid ground, her heart racing, breath caught in her throat as if she had breached the surface after being submerged for too long. She found herself standing within the chasm, the shadows still swirling around but now more subdued. The figure she recognized emerged from the dark, a younger version of her grandmother, eyes shimmering with wisdom and sorrow. "Welcome home," the figure said softly, a hint of a smile gracing her lips. But there was something deeper in her gaze, an unspoken resolve that sent a shiver down Elena's spine. "What do you want from me?" Elena asked, her voice trembling as remnants of fear butted against a burgeoning courage. The shadows flickered, and the chasm whispered once more. "To remember and to choose," it said, laced with an ominous undertone that sent her pulse racing. What choice lay before her? And what awaited if she dared to plunge deeper into the shadows of her past? Elena inhaled sharply, the weight of her lineage pressing on her shoulders. The moment had come to face what had been buried for too long. Would she rise and reclaim her story, or was the labyrinth of darkness ready to consume her whole? In the heart of the chasm, Elena stood before the ethereal figure of her younger grandmother. The shadows pulsed around them, singing their haunting lullabies. But now, they were just whispers in the background, fading as the truth beckoned. She felt a tether between her own spirit and the memories swirling in the dark. "Choose wisely," her grandmother's soft voice repeated, wrapping around Elena like warm sunlight breaking through a winter sky. With a deep breath, Elena stepped forward. "What do I need to remember?" she asked, her heart a trembling pendulum of fear and hope. The shadows flickered, casting ghostly reflections of her past across the walls of the chasm. Every moment, every decision played out for her, the laughter that turned to betrayal, the promises that dissolved into despair. Everything. "The darkness and the light," her grandmother replied, her eyes shimmering with an understanding that transcended time. Elena felt every regret wash over her, the lost opportunities, the relationships fractured by fear. The pain gnawed at her insides like a rodent burrowing deep. But now, it was joined by something else, a flicker of strength. "I want to let the past define me," she shouted, her voice echoing against the stone walls, more powerful than the shadows lurked. Suddenly, the darkness writhed in anger, and Ragnar's voice boomed from the depths, a chilling reminder of the power he held. "You think this is a choice? You are what you fear most. Unforgiven. Unworthy." Elena's resolve hardened. She had feared his words for too long, but now they only fueled her courage. "You don't speak the truth, I do," she claimed, feeling the pendant's warmth surge through her, a reminder of her strength and resilience. "Face the shadows," her younger self chimed in from within the darkness. "Face who you are." The memories erupted in a torrent, revealing the full tapestry of her life woven with joy and pain. The moments when she felt like the world was too heavy, the times she stumbled but got back up. I am not just my failures, she whispered, her voice stronger than ever, blossoming inside her. In one moment, all that faded into a clear vision of hope, a bright light illuminating her path back. I choose to forgive myself, she said, her heart swelling with each syllable. I refuse to be shackled by shame. As if responding to her declaration, the shadows shrieked and shrunk back, their physical form unraveling. The fissures under her feet began to close, and the dark mist that had clung to her dissipated, like a forgotten nightmare that had lost its grip. Elena stepped back, joining hands with her grandmother. "We're here together," she murmured, feeling the warmth of her friend's approach. Anton and Mia's silhouettes crested the edge of the chasm, ready for shared strength. "Together, we create our truth." The ground rumbled as Ragnar's wails echoed through the chamber. "You cannot escape your fate," he growled, shadows reforming around him. But the light intensified, pushing against the encroaching darkness. The power of their unity sparkled in the air, allowing them to rise above the shadows, casting light on their most sorrowful moments, their authentic selves. "No one defines me but my choices," Elena declared, staring down the evil spirit. "And I choose hope, resilience, love. I choose my family." With that, the circle of light exploded, sending shockwaves through the chasm. The shadows recoiled in agony, fading like distant memories into the void. Ragnar's figure collapsed, eyes wide with disbelief. The waves of light surged, wrapping around Elena and her friends, lifting them from the depths toward the surface. They ascended to freedom. Emerging from the darkness, the first rays of dawn broke through the trees, illuminating their village once more. The air was thick with the scent of the earth and new beginnings. The villagers stood at their doorsteps, waiting in silence. Elena turned to antagonize the nightmare behind them, but it was gone, just a memory now, swallowed by the sun's first light. "We did it," Anton breathed, his disbelief turning into a smile. "We faced the truth," Mia said, her eyes sparkling with newfound strength. Elena felt that same vibrancy course through her, a newfound determination taking root. "What we face today shows the power of our truth. Fear can't hold us anymore. We're stronger than we know." And with that, they turned toward their village, hearts soaring as laughter and chatter erupted around them, filling the air with hope. They were more than survivors. They were warriors of their own story, ready to build a future free from the shadows of their past. In the glow of the morning sun, they hugged tightly, warmth spreading among them, real, tangible proof of their victory over the darkness. Elena stood among them, radiating strength, knowing that the burden of secrets no longer haunted her. "Let us create a new tale," she offered. And together, they stepped forward, ready to write their story anew. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will ignite your imagination. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, lighting the way for more adventures. And please, flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this ending. Your voice matters so much to us. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us build this amazing community together.